We started a group called Agents Act, Agents Against Child Trafficking. It was really born out of a few years of me helping a personal friend of mine who is over in Thailand. She's rescued, I think, over 500 children. And I was doing as much as I could to help her at the time, but I knew that there was a better way to do that. It's agentsact.com. This is wins like all over the place, in my opinion. So everybody gets to be part of it. And that in turn is going to help these kids and help us save these babies.
It's great because everybody wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. I mean, you said it. They want to be a part of an ecosystem that gives back.
We might not be able to save all these children, but for each child that we save, we made a difference in that one's life. And you can do that for not even that much money. Like Steve Jobs says, if we're not going to make a dent, why are we even here?
Right.
That's that we have to look at it. And I honestly feel like this industry could make a dent. We have to do what we can do and make as big of an impact as we can. So
I love it. Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. Welcome to Business Insights with Matt Milia. I'm your host, Matt Milia, and in this podcast, we'll talk about the real, raw, uncut business success secrets you won't find anywhere else. Follow my journey from entry level to CEO. We discuss real actionable items you can plug into your business right away. To subscribe to our weekly top tips, you can go to www.mattpodcast.com and join our community of elite high-level performers. And if you're interested in our inside sales company, you can go to www.appointmentstoday.com to jump on a free strategy call. And now, stay tuned for our podcast. All right. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Happy Wednesday and welcome on. You are on with Matt Milia, Kristen Bradaick, and Nicki Gregory. And Nicki is the woman. So be the woman. And she's going to talk a little bit about how she can help you guys grow your business and some of the challenges in real estate. And then she's also going to talk about an amazing organization that she is leading and is leading the way. So welcome, Nicki. It is a pleasure having you on. For anyone who's living under a rock, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a real estate agent in Texas, and I'm a mom of 3 kids. I've got a 20-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And then I've got a team also that I run in Amarillo, Texas, that I've been doing. I've been doing since 2015. That specific team. I was part of another team before that. And I've had my license since 2011. Before that, I was a real estate investor. So,
wow, you've got your hands full. Got your hands full, to say the least, with all those kids. Okay, right. So how? Kind of getting right into it. I mean, how did you get into real estate? What was it that brought you into real estate initially?
How long is this program here? No. Let's see. The short story version, right? So I was an investor. I started investing in 2005, and I survived, or actually didn't really survive, the 08, 09 situation crash, that we had.
Sure.
And kind of went to a place in my life where I was at a crossroads. Did I just want to go do something else entirely? Because it was just honestly devastating and not something I don't know if y'all were involved at that time. Probably not. You're probably way too young.
No, I was. We'll talk about that in a second, but go ahead.
I'm not sure for the same age we might be. I don't know. I think
I'm 34.
Younger than me. Okay. So, so I survived that. I want a t-shirt that says I survived real estate in 08. That would be fantastic. But, so I came back because I knew that I had really gotten a really expensive education. And for a long time, I wasn't sure that's what I wanted to do, get back involved because of how rough that was. Just honestly, for everything, your finances, mentally, physically, all of the things. So, But after a while, I really, came to terms with, I just loved it so much. That's why I did it in the first place. And I felt like at that point I would have a wasted education because it was a really expensive education. And I learned so much that I realized I could help other people invest in property and know what not to do. And that I had something that not a lot of other realtors had at that point, which was just some really valuable insight and experience that not most people had lived through. So I came back in 2011, and that's how I got involved in actually having my license and selling as opposed to investing at that point.
So you came back right as the market was sort of in like, it was more of a self-correction mode at that point. It seemed like things were starting to work out. I'll never forget this. So my whole journey, I mean, I was a very below average student in high school. I hated high school. I mean, just school in general was not my thing. I was figure out the shortcut to get through it and then go from there. Well, the funny thing is I actually went to school for auto mechanics. I knew absolutely nothing of what I was doing when I was in school. And I was like, well, I'm going to do this auto mechanic thing because it gets me out of class for 5 hours a day. So I went and that was the only thing that boosted up my grades to the 1.9 GPA. So yeah, it was bad. So I got to the point where after I got out of school, I was like, okay, well, I worked at a local oil change place. And when you're in class, they take their time with you. Things are very slow moving. But, of course, once you get into the real world, they're like, you better bust your ass and hurry up and get through this or else you're out of here. So I decided to make that decision for them. I said, you know what, this isn't for me. Took a little bit of time off in this was the summer of 2004. And I started walking around to some of my neighbors. I was very fortunate. I lived in a really nice neighborhood. My parents did very well for themselves, but at the same time, they didn't have work for me. There was no family business. So I'm like, I got to figure this thing out. Walked across the street. The guy across the street owned a mortgage company after I talked to a bunch of people that were like, we don't have any work for you. Get out of here. And again, this was before obviously social media was at a rise. So couldn't really even, going online wasn't really like, you didn't go on Facebook and see if people were hiring. So I got into mortgages, and I was in mortgages until 2008, and then I pretty much I left from there. And I'll never forget because I was in college. I dropped out of school at the time when I was a mortgage loan officer because I started to see all the money that all these guys were making, and I'm like, well, I don't need this whole school thing. I'll just be a mortgage loan officer for the rest of my life. That market totally crashed, and then it was the rough road from there. So. A lot of lessons learned, though. I don't regret it. I'm actually very thankful for the experience, and really just taught me how to weather the storm, to say the least. So I'm sure you probably got some of the same takeaways for you.
Yeah, it trains you to weather all kinds of storms, actually.
Oh yeah, and to be bulletproof, and to figure out how to adjust when things go wrong. And speaking of things going wrong in the real estate business. Now, I mean, you're in an amazing training today, which again, thank you for taking the time stepping away to do this. What's the training that you're at?
I'm at the NAEA boot camp training to
All right.
Certified as an expert advisor, real estate expert advisor. So I'm here with my team. This is actually my third time, so I'm already certified, but I came to bring my team and to also look at it from different eyes. I want to start training with, looking at it from a training standpoint as opposed to me getting the training, but to come in and look at it with different eyes and take notes so that I can help new agents and, get them going. And once, not necessarily even new agents, but agents who haven't been trained, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Get them going and then get them eventually here as well. So.
Got it. So in your opinion, I mean, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges? I mean, I know you guys are going through a lot of stuff. So what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that real estate agents face today in the industry?
There's so many. The number one, did you say some or the number one? Let's see.
No, I mean, the number one, some of them, I mean, you could, go, I mean, hey.
Some important.
It is.
Stand out to me. And especially for me, like as a younger agent and new in the business, I think one big challenge was just coming to terms with the fact that you're not going to know everything and how much training you actually do need, and that you can that you need to intentionally be at and constantly learning, and then also finding the mentors and the right leadership, because I've been part of companies before that just. They had leaders, but not the level of leadership that I needed to go where I wanted to be. And so being brave enough to step out and find those people. I did have one mentor one time teach me, stop asking the questions in your business, how, why, when, and ask only who. So when you ask who, that'll answer almost every question that you have. So who is missing in my life? Who am I missing as a mentor? Who am I missing as a trainer? Who am I missing on my team? Who am I missing? Like if I have an inspiration and I need somebody to come in and help me build systems and processes now. So that's been a lifesaver for me, is asking that question and being okay with the fact that I think when you come into it, I feel like you come in a little bit maybe too cocky and thinking, I know, I guess from my background, maybe that was part of it, but I know so much, and you come into it and it's like, you don't know anything. I mean, honestly, I didn't know anything in comparison to what I know now. And so, and then finding those people that not only can do that, but then it's a whole other level of finding people that will do it because they care as much about your success in your business as you do. And to continue to just be okay with the fact that you may have to leave, you may have to, exit stage right to a few times to go find those people, and don't stop until you find your people and your tribe, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And then also understanding that, and I hate, I'm not somebody that puts people in a box, but understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are, and so that you know who those mentors need to be, because if you know what your weaknesses are, one of my biggest weaknesses has been always, and I still struggle with, is like scheduling, like my calendar, and being uber productive within that calendar and not allowing distractions. Right. I'll just admit it. That's one of my biggest personal struggles but the more I have studied about myself, the more that I understand that that's one of my problems that has a lot to do with my personality, to be honest. And so like if you study personalities and different personalities, not to put people in a box, and a lot of agents will say, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to be put in a box. It's not putting you in a box. It's so liberating. It's so like free.
Oh, yeah.
Once you become okay with, these are my weaknesses, but oh my God, look at all my strengths. And then you have somebody on your team and you're like, well, those might be his or her weaknesses, but the reason why I don't care anymore, because they have so many strengths over here and they complement each other. And then when you find the who's that are okay with your weaknesses and you're okay with their weaknesses, because we're both helping each other. I'm loaning you strengths, you're leveraging each other. That's priceless. And that works in teams, it works in mentorships, it works on all different levels. But I feel like once you start to understand that at a high level, then you are really situating yourself and positioning yourself for growth. And it really positions you for the right mindset, because now you have the right people in your life that are teaching you what your mindset issues might be because of your personality or maybe the way you're raised or whatever. But I think a lot of it comes down to just personality differences, but not just being okay, not getting to where you're okay with your weaknesses, but celebrating that, or not celebrating the strength so much that it doesn't even matter what your weaknesses are. You don't even need to strengthen your weaknesses. You don't even need to go try to strengthen your weaknesses. You need to hone in on all those strengths and then leverage the other person's strengths. That, like, I bring people on my team right now, they're going to schedule and do my calendar. You know what I'm saying? Like, even this right here, I didn't do this. Teresa scheduled it for me. So, because she's so great, and I'm never going to be great at that. Like, I don't need to necessarily learn how I need to do it better as much as who is my person that's going to help me do that better.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and you took one of my questions, but I'm happy you did, because it was actually a question that I was just going to put in there about, should you double down on your strengths or double down on your weaknesses? And you answered that, because I think it's important that you realize where your weaknesses are, and then just being honest with yourself and saying, okay, this is not one of my strengths and I need help with this. And just being really open about one of my own weaknesses. And I own an inside sales company, so I should be amazing at this, but I suck at follow-up because I don't have enough time in the day. And if I had the time and I wasn't focused on 550 other things, it would be so easy to laser beam focus on that one thing, and I'd be great at it. So Kristen actually does all my follow-up. She's my inside sales agent. And that's why I always feel that, shameless plug alert, but that's why I always feel like it's important to have an inside sales rep or someone that can help you, because in most cases with a lot of agents, the model is so different than what it used to be. Kristen was a top agent in the 90s, and Kristen would tell you, I mean, inside sales agents, do they exist, Kristen?
No, and you know what's funny? It's like I just remember I actually had this conversation when we went to that dinner the other night on Monday.
Yeah.
About like, I mean, I would take listing appointment, calls at like 9:30 at night. I mean, I remember writing offers at the Mustard Seed in Solon, Ohio at 10:30 at night. So I remember those days. Now you just have way more distractions. That's the thing. You get pulled. I would say, yeah, there's technology is wonderful, but it can also make things like you can concentrate on all these little shiny objects that everybody has now.
Yep.
That's what people tell me. You can get caught into that. I'm sure Nicki, you get into that at some point.
We talked about this yesterday about how the cars, like you can have your text come into your car and it reads it to you. I was like, heck no, I'm already so distracted and have already issues. Like that's the worst thing that could happen to me right now because my phone blows up. I would have wrecks. Like I would just have wrecks all the time.
Yeah.
But I haven't, Matt, have you done the disc profile? I'm interviewing you now, Matt.
Yeah, I have done. So I've done a disc profile.
Profiles are actually.
So yeah, and actually, Kristen, I don't know. I think have you done one, Kristen? I know it's been a little while.
I did one at Craig Proctor ages ago. I could tell you that.
Okay.
Yeah, ages ago, like in the 90s in Toronto in February. Yeah, I did.
Okay. So I am, Nicki, to answer your question, I'm 99I, so influencer, or excuse me, 99D for driver or dominant. Some people would call that other names. And then I am a 91 on the I. And that's an influencer. And then I believe the C I have is like a 29, and then the S is like almost in the negatives. I think I have I have a very low S. I operate well in chaos. So yes. How about you, Nicki? Share a little bit about your disc profile. And actually, for everyone who doesn't know, again, some people don't know. Can you kind of enlighten them? What is a disc profile?
You might do a better job than I do at that. A disc profile is just where, like you're talking about your personality, strengths and weaknesses. It just kind of identifies that. That one's really good. I think as a basic level, easy one to understand for when people are doing one for the first time. I feel like we took the Tony Robbins. We use the Tony Robbins one often for that. I'm actually doing I like the Myers-Briggs because I like to dive even deeper into like all 16,
Oh, you're 16. So what is your six? So I'm ENTP, by the way, which means I'm supposed to be some sort of debater, but I'm not really a confrontational person, but I do question a lot of things. And I
can see that actually. You're not. Okay. You're definitely not confrontational, but I could see that.
Yeah. And it. Go ahead. What is it? INTJ. Okay. So
that's
your intro, your inner reflective, so to speak. Okay. All right.
I think mine is. I think they call it the mastermind. So I'm not saying that to brag, but.
I love it. So
I like to mastermind things. So.
Well, I want to also add something for everybody that's on here. And I don't know if we ever actually talked about this, Kristen. And when you bring up personality testing, Nicki, this is a game changer. So it's called the Colby Type A. And the Colby Type A is really great when you're trying to build a team. And you brought up, Nicki, something really amazing earlier in the call. You were talking about having the right people on the bus, which, by the way, is there's a book called Good to Great. I cannot remember the name of the author, but an amazing book. And I'm not even going to guess on the name. Good to Great is an amazing book. They talk about having the right people on the bus. And one of the one of the biggest issues that I had actually, so my present day operations manager, who is, by the way, probably the most amazing person I've ever worked with. And he was an ISA for me. And I'll never forget, it was the most awkward thing because I generally, when I let people go, it's usually, okay, you deserve this. You let yourself go. I'm really sorry, but we have to part ways. And it's not easy, and I don't ever enjoy it. But with him, it was probably the most painful person I ever let go because I thought he was amazing, but he just wasn't getting the ISA end of things. And I generally have a rule where we don't bring people back on. And if we let them go, we don't bring them back on. And I just remembered he had a lot of amazing ideas and concepts, but I didn't have always the right people on the bus to help implement and execute those ideas and concepts. And I said to myself, you know what? I need to get an operations manager in here in place to make a move and to get where we want to go. And I brought Milton back on, and I mean, he's been amazing. And come to find out, I gave him the Colby Type A test. Every sales attribute he didn't do well on, but everything that had to do with building out systems, building out processes. By the way, Colby Type A is connotative. It is not your cognitive. It's not your personality. It's literally before school was where you went every day, before you were kind of molded by the system, so to speak, that's created here. What were you really best at? What were you passionate about? What was it that motivated you? And he was somebody that he could put something together, take it apart, manage it, monitor it, and he had great scores in those areas where mine were low. I think I had a 4 out of 10 and a 3 out of 10, and his was like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 in those spots. So being able to pick your spots and knowing it's $50, it's the best $50 you will ever spend on that test. But if you are someone who's looking to build and grow your business, the Colby Type A is a game changer for hiring. So let's get into real quick now, because this is the most important part of this whole thing, is what you're doing for not only the real estate community, but just for the world. You're part, and you're co-founder, correct? Co-founder or only founder? How does that work with Agents Act?
Well, I think some of what I've got out there says founder, some says co-founder. I'll say co-founder because I had a lot of help.
Okay.
From Nick and Michael, Nick Krim and Michael Lawrence. So, I mean, they really found this. And speaking of who's, that's kind of how this all came to be, because we had a mastermind group, and I love mastermind groups. And I was part of this group. I walked in and I looked around and thought, oh my God, like I don't belong here, because it was so high level. I mean, just walking in, just instant, like slap you in the face, how high level this group and the thoughts that were being passed around the room. And it was just almost like shock and awe for a minute, and then kind of sank into it after a few minutes and thought, no, these are my people. Like, these are my who's. And I started to realize it's something that I had dreamed of, and had envisioned to happen, and was about to happen. I knew that it was going to be true now and be real. And that was my passion and my just desire to really find a way to do something big for the human trafficking problem in the world, and specifically with children. And so we started a group. Okay, so we'll start there. We started a group called Agents Act, Agents Against Child Trafficking. That was really born out of a few years of me helping a personal friend of mine who is over in Thailand. She's rescued, I think, over 500 children. She's been there over 10 years. And I was doing as much as I could to help her at the time, but I knew that there was a better way to do that.
Sure.
And I knew that this new group of agents that I was part of would be that somehow, some way. But really, like I said, it just kind of hit me when I was at that mastermind group. And that was about almost exactly a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah, in November. That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because they just went to a mastermind, and I didn't get to go to this one. But so we in that mastermind group, we did a lot of discovering why you are doing what you're doing. What's your purpose on the planet? Like, why are you geared the way you are, why are you built the way you are to do this and get up every day and do it. And I, my drive is definitely my children. But they discussed how that's not really your why. That's kind of like a what. Like, of course, I'm going to take care of my children, but there's something else, and for you to dig deeper. And a lot of people were afraid to admit to themselves what that was, because as soon as you admit it, you're on the hook with yourself. Like,
right.
And so that week, that was really what I guess it's like an onion, like you peel apart the layers. And I was like, you know what, it's time. Like, this is why I'm here. This is why I do this. Every day I wake up and I know that I am supposed to help agents, but ultimately it's to help agents build their businesses for a higher purpose. That's what gets me going. And so that kind of came out like while we were there at the mastermind. I started discussing, this concept. And I remember looking around the room and thinking, my gosh, like, the level of agents that are here and the level of just the high level mindsets across the board in this room of about 50 people, which is now grown to 100 people in just that group alone. If we could tap into that, and I just feel like there's people here that could help me grow something that could really make a dent in the problem. The people that I know that are out there, boots on the ground, doing this every day, are so good at what they do. And I could never do that. Again, that's not my strength. But I can connect them with people who can help them, because their strength is not necessarily raising the money and finding the finances, or knowing the people that can come up with, the mastermind ideas of how to grow what they're doing. And I would go see what they were doing, especially in Thailand, with just a little bit of money that they had raised, maybe from a few churches, which kudos to these churches. My gosh, they dug deep and they have done some incredible things. But I knew that if we could also pull from the business world, and specifically real estate, because we're such good connectors, we have so many, we have just across the board, even just like that room to me was like a sample, right? Like of what we have. Real estate agents have the best hearts. They are go-getters. They get stuff done. And if you put together all these strengths, they love to house people and home people. And I knew that was a big need for these children, especially in Thailand, that they were having a hard time getting enough houses. As a matter of fact, my friend explained to me one day, we could do so much. I can get clothes and I can get food, and they still need help with those things, but we can't keep up with the housing. Like, we cannot figure out how to raise the money. I mean, they were figuring it out, but my friend explained to me, I have 65 children a day trafficked by just this area alone. Jeez. It's the highest level child trafficking area in the world. And she would pour her heart out to me and explain this to me. And I would just get so, I couldn't sleep at night. I don't know, just thinking, how would you even solve that problem, and who would do it? We went back to who's, which that mentor taught me a long time ago. And when I walked in that room, I was like, here's a sampling of the who's. And I just really felt like the real estate industry, I don't see government doing it, our government. No. I think some people in Hollywood are kind of tapping into it a little bit and starting to try to do some things. But I just thought, man, maybe it's the real estate industry. We are a big army of people. Oh, yeah. Connections. There's money. There's they're just all the right fit for what it would take, I think, to solve a big portion of the problem. And we have to be realistic. We're never going to solve this problem. It's huge. But if we could change the statistics while I'm on the planet, like Steve Jobs says, if we're not going to make a dent, why are we even here? Right. That's the way that we have to look at it. And I honestly feel like this industry could make a dent. And so that's how it was born. That's how it started, Agents Act. Again, while I was there, I started throwing around mastermind ideas, and Michael, Lawrence, and Nick Cram came to me and said, I think they were asking me what was the biggest, what did I identify as like the biggest thing, like keeping me from just doing it? Sure. I was honest with them. I was like, honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it would be. And they said, well, we do. It's technology. That's how you would automate it. That's how you would get everyone involved. That's how you would spread the word. And I was like, again, you're who's, right? So you're just like, very true. Oh my God. you're right. That's exactly how you would do it. And if you get that out to the right people and you build the right army of people and it's automated and put into really just using and utilizing technology that I'll be honest, I don't have a clue what's even out there to utilize this, but they did. And so we just started with a very small team of people. We still have a very small team of people, but because of their, just they're so tech savvy and all of the things that they understood that I didn't see, they were like,
Sure.
we know exactly how we can build that and put it out there. And it was just like, okay, I found my who's to do this. And then now we're from there, the ambassadors that have come on board, it's just all a matter of who at this point, like who else are we going to get involved? And from there, it's honestly taking on like this life of its own, because all the who's that we are getting are such high level thinkers that they're just coming in and helping build. And in 1 year, it's just taken off. And then, then you get people like Albie Stasic involved, who he has the idea to do the rock and rescue events, which he's mastered and figured out how to do. So there's another. Now he's volunteering to train agents across the country how to put these events together. So it's just growing. It's going to grow like wildfire. In 2020, I really am so honestly shocked at how fast word is spread, and also what we're going to be able to accomplish in 2020 just with those events and the ambassadorship program and everything that we're putting together. So
wow, it's a lot. And I mean, so Nicki, and again, and if it wouldn't be me if I didn't go deep. So this girl that you knew in Thailand, because again, this is a really, we threw a charity event here in Cleveland for it. It was for the Lioness Foundation, and basically what this foundation did is they took girls who were, and we were a part of the committee, by the way. There was, just like you were saying, the who. We were not the ones that did everything. We helped put it together, and with all the people that were involved, it was an amazing event. But with the Lioness Foundation, the number one challenge that they had, of course, was like everything else, was with funding and making sure that they had the right people helping them spread the message. Because what they're doing is they were taking women that were victims of human trafficking, and they would take these women and they would house them, and they would work to help get them reacclimated into society. It was, they weren't, of course, that wasn't their main objective. It was to get them out of harm's way. The most disgusting thing that I was told was that they were taking people that were also working for the traffickers, and they would go in there, and their goal was to get these women to fight each other, because if they get into a fight, they got kicked out of the house. And as soon as they got kicked out of the house, they got put right back into the situation they were in. So going my third level deep, or going in, again, this is my sales training, going 3 levels deep. The girl in Thailand, and she was the one that got you. Was she a friend of yours, or did she originally live in Thailand, or did you guys know each other before? I'm assuming before.
I did not know her before she moved there. I met her through a family member of mine.
Okay.
She was just a single woman who lived in LA and heard about the problem. I think maybe she'd gone to a fundraiser or something. I don't really remember that part of the story, but she literally just was asking herself over and over, like, who's going to do something about this? Like, who's going to take care of it? And she didn't have, honestly, she did not have the resources. She didn't have anything to be the person to fix this problem. But she caught herself saying, who's going to do something, and realized, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? And
sure,
she's literally one of my favorite people in the world. If you met her, you would love her. This woman gets on a plane, flies herself over to Thailand, and starts to work for an orphanage, who, by the way, those people were so exhausted and tired because they couldn't figure out there's issues with the government and all kinds of things that they were just exhausted from. Left the orphanage of over, I think, 100 kids in her hands. Like, once she got there, they left. She had never run an orphanage before, but was like, well, I'm here now, so here's what I got to do.
Yeah.
And then she started seeing she knew that the problem was so bad there, so she just started her own system of finding out which kids were going to be, oh man, my battery is about to die. Let me see if I can plug this in.
Uh-oh.
I had 50%, but Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Didn't know that was going to happen. We'll go with it. Okay. I think we're plugged in.
Good.
So she just started her own system of getting these kids and finding out who was going to be trafficked next by just spreading word and being involved with the children in the area. So, a cousin would find out their cousin's going to be sold, or their little sisters, and somebody's little sister or whatever. So she talks about
how much does a human go for? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. How much do they go for? Because I was told, actually, I talked to Michael about this, and I was totally disgusted when I found out. How much do they usually sell people for?
I think at the time it was something like $27 or something like that.
Oh.
That
Wow.
these children are being sold for. This particular story, her first story, they were being traded for a cell phone. I mean, I'm sorry, no, she actually traded her for a cell phone. Let me put that the right way. They were selling her to a trafficker, and she got there first. And the uncle got involved, and he said, "I'm not going to let you take her." She begged, pleaded, try to pull their heartstrings, and he was just like, "No, because they're bringing me money." And she found out how much money, and she was like, "Is there anything else that you would trade her for, please?" And she had her on her lap in their living room, and he was like, "Cell phone." So she said, okay, well, she was trying to make calls to get somebody to bring her a cell phone and couldn't get anyone. And they were coming in like an hour to get her. So she handed him her cell phone, got the little girl in a van, put her down on the ground on the floor of the van, and left. And they gave her to her. And that's how she started it, honestly.
Wow.
In her. And
that's horrible.
So years later now, she is built up. She has a very... just a very well-run organization. She is just honestly a genius. And I'm not saying her name because we don't say her name on
No, of course.
No.
Explain why.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she's Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. I like it. I like it.
She is. Right.
She's,
honestly.
We went to Thailand this year and went and visited her and saw everything. And I've never been more impressed with anything, honestly, in my life, with what she's done with the money that she has received. And so that was just, again, another confirmation for me, like, man, if we can do this, we can go big. Like, she can make a huge dent. She's so just incredible at what she does, and has figured out how to just really efficiently build the homes and educate them, and to start programs in different areas. We went and visited an area that is just a high level where pretty much, the only way for them to make money was to sell their children. And what becomes sad about that is not selling them to traffickers. The parents end up becoming their traffickers. So that if they sell them, they get money one time. But if they traffic them, they have an income. And so we went to that area, and this friend of mine has actually gone into that area and has created a scenario where there's 0% now. They never sell their children in this area anymore. And it's actually a dump. It's a garbage dump. I think you might have posted a picture of me with my little girl in the pink dress she was wanting me to play ball with her in that picture. And I get emotional every time I see it when somebody posts it, because she was just precious, precious little girl. And I was just so glad that when I saw her, and you see their faces, that my friend had gone in there, and she's changed. She changed all those little, they're living in a dump. So it's hard. It's hard to do what I'm talking about with how we are here, but
sure,
that's different from those little kids being sold to men all day, every day. It's still an upgrade. Unfortunately, it is.
Yeah.
And then,
and I've heard the whole culture there. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to interject. I heard the whole culture there is very, for lack of better words, ass backwards. And I'm not saying that everyone is there, but there's a lot of the whole mindset behind it, where the government doesn't have the type of control to step in. They don't have, and they're making money off of, and I don't know if they're making money off of that, but again, they're kind of turning a blind eye to it. And and you said it earlier, Steve Jobs, the vision was to, if you're not going to make a dent in this world, what are you going to do? I think we can really make a massive dent. And that's really why I'm so glad I was able to have you on, because it really, it's something that, a lot of us don't necessarily want to get and look at what's really happening out there today. But Yeah, we don't want to look at this problem. And guys, here's the thing. I want to ask one last question, because this is something really important to become an ambassador. So I mean, I'm an ambassador. I think we have what do we have, about 15 people, 20 people, Nicki, that are actual like ambassadors that help with leading from within, or what is?
I think we've got more than that now. I need to get the
exact. Oh, awesome.
So I've been out for a few weeks sick, but I think we've added quite a few people. So
as an ambassador is that anybody that donates every month, or is that someone who actually is like a part of the inner circle group? How does that work?
So it's both.
It's both. Okay.
The membership program is set up so that so there's two things we need to do to solve the problem. Mm-hmm. That is that we need to have large events and kind of like we were talking about the rock and rescue events. We need teams of people that are competent to put together large events, and we are finding people all over the country to do those, and that's going to really help us build those homes at a quicker pace than what she's been able to do. And actually, once we started this, she had some connections in Brazil, the second largest child trafficking country in the world. So these are just they run a lot of businesses. It's just very extremely large businesses. It's like drugs for some countries. It's trafficking.
Oh yeah.
So it's their product.
So Brazil.
That firsthand. Yeah, because we're doing this. She had these connections in Brazil.
Oh, okay.
Let's open the doors in Brazil, because now she knows, okay, if we're going to start doing this on a bigger level, I can actually expand into the other countries and areas. So as we come in and help with that, she'll be able to, that'll help her do what her vision is which to expand in other areas as well. And to go, she's training leaders in those other countries to do and duplicate what she has a very duplicatable system. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's one of us honey badgers. I tell her that, I'm like, you're not, but you are. Like, so
right.
Anyway, I just totally went on a rabbit trail from the question.
No, you were telling about Brazil. You said that, she has the honey badger mentality. And then you're expanding. You need people to help with growing this. So let's just what's the difference between an ambassador and like, how does that work?
So the ambassador program is set up so that we have a good, steady monthly. So when she builds the home, here's the problem we're solving. So she's building the home. We're putting in how many of her kids can be put in this home. Well, that ups her monthly bills every month.
Yeah, big time.
You have to take into consideration, like, yes, great. So she was kind of having that problem where somebody would donate the money to build a house and then disappear, maybe. So then it's like, well, that was awesome and we appreciate it, but now she's got to go figure out how do they raise their income monthly. So what we're trying to do is not to give her that problem, or yes, here's the money, and we've designated it for you to build a house because that's how it works in charitable giving. So, but also we want to come in and form a foundation of people that are willing to be an ambassador to represent Agents Act in their as realtors in their market. So they're representing us, and they're taking on ownership to become an ambassador. So they're committing to, they're donating so much a month to help us. So we don't give her that problem. So we have the events, we built the house, but she has no foundation to really actually raise and educate and feed and, all the expenses. And so, and also just, there's a whole other, I won't do that. So sorry. So the ambassador program is really essential to us doing this and it becoming a success, because we need the foundation, we need the commitments, we need people at a whole other level that understand big pictures, to understand, like, everybody wants kind of the feel good, like, I did something big and we went and built a house, but they don't at a practical level always take on the ownership and the responsibility with somebody and partner with them. And so we have to do both, or we're not really putting her in a great position to be successful. We don't want to set her up for failure at all. And so the ambassador program, what we did to help, I look at things like this with like a reciprocity mindset. And so I wanted to set something up. The first thing that happened when I started talking to real estate agents was, gosh, I want to do this. I just don't have the time. Like, I don't have time. And I understand, to be honest, I had to pull away from my business for a good 6 months to even begin to start to figure out how we were going to build this and put it together. And I didn't really want to set that up for agents either, because then we're setting ourselves up for failure.
Right.
So we had to put together some idea. And this is where Michael and Nick came in and helped so much, is how can we put together an idea where if they're giving and they're helping, that we, number one, let's automate it for them where it's nothing, like they don't need to really do anything that to be part of this and take ownership other than partner. I'm not trying to take them away from their business, which in turn takes them away from their families more. And they, I understand that because I'm one of them.
Sure.
But what I wanted to do was do something that would actually help them build. We talked about it. We wanted to do something that actually help them build their business. And, again, reciprocity. So if we're helping them build their business and we're helping them make more money and get word out about and help them, like Nick says, become community champions in their area, what does that do for the big picture? That's just going to help them become bigger influencers, make more money that they can help with, be able to put on those large events because they have so much influence. So we just look at it like this whole reciprocity cycle, like a symbiotic relationship where we can help them, help us, help them, help us. And so we developed the ambassadorship program, which involves help. They get like a digital business card set up for them. So included in their package when they donate, when they commit to donating monthly to Help Agents Act, then they get a digital card, business card set up for them. Is a digital resume, online resume so if you go and you look at mine is work with Nicki.expert, sell with Nicki.expert. Sorry, I have a couple. Sell with Nicki.expert. So when you go on there and look, what happens is we can spread the word about their business. We can spread the word about Agents Act because we can post videos. And then they become part of our community and part of our family. Honestly, that's what we want. And we're going to help them, help us, help them, help us.
I love it. I was actually, and it's funny, I don't want to break this thing because I was going to share my screen so everybody could see your business card. But guys, I'm going to just put it in here in the comments so that if anybody wants to sell with Nicki.expert. And one last thing, Nicki, before we close out, and I mean, I think that this is really important. I mean, so if you're watching this, and, a lot of times people will watch this later on. I mean, if someone wants to get involved and they don't know where to start, I mean, first off, let me ask what packages do you guys have available? Like, what is the lowest package that somebody could give per month? If you don't mind going into it real quick, what's the lowest package? And then, if somebody wants to give more, they could give more, but how does that work?
That's a question for Nick, because like I told you, I have my
Got it. Okay.
If you'll put I'll be honest, we're beta testing quite a bit, so we've changed those packages up a few times. So it could be different now than it was yesterday. I apologize for that, but
no, it's okay.
And look, I just don't want to say the wrong thing. What I think it is could be different.
Got it.
So if you go, it's agentsact.com, and you go on there, and there are different packages. And I will just say that was one of the things that we have kind of had to tinker with a little bit. So you may be able to go on there. Right, I can't pull it up right here, but if we put the link, it's agentsact.com, and you can go on there and you can find the package that works for you. And the basic level package should include, like we were saying, the things to help you become a community, influencer in your area. And it helps the agent too, in just the way that, people want to work with somebody who they feel like they're doing something with their money other than, I hate to say it this way, but agents that are just, I'm all
blowing
about fancy cars and houses. Like, I feel like I'm not against that at all, but it does something in the hearts of our clients when they feel like, some of that money that they're spending with us is going to change the world. I mean, for better, a better way to say it. I mean, there's not a better way to say it. That's what our plan is to do. And so I like that aspect of it too, because I just feel like we always like win-wins, but I'm like, this is wins like all over the place, in my opinion. So everybody gets to be part of it. Even our clients get to feel like they even have ownership and a part of doing that because they work with us. And that
Yeah.
That in turn is going to help these kids and help us save these babies. So I'm all about it.
Well, no, and it's great because everybody wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves. I mean, you said it. People want to be a part of a community. People want to be a part of an inner circle. They want to be a part of an ecosystem that gives back. And what better way to show goodwill and infuse goodwill than being an agent that supports this? And that, I mean, we talk about unique selling propositions and differentiating factors all the time. This is a huge differentiator, and it shows that you're a great person. And Nicki, if it's okay with you real quick, I just want to put a couple things out that you said on the website. Children are sold for $18 every day, which is sick. $18 a day, children are sold. 80% of Thailand's prostitutes are child slaves, which is horrific.
And we went down to the red light district and got to see that for ourselves, just so you know, so that I could not just use statistics, but tell you we saw that. So
it's horrible.
And people want to say, oh, that's not real. No, it is. And I'll tell you something else. They like to blame it on other men from other countries and say that I've looked at the statistics and seen what countries they're saying are really fueling this business. But we were there, and it is American businessmen on those streets. American businessmen. And so that's why when I came back, I started talking to the good men that I work with that I know. And I said, I need you men to step up, because that's going to be what it's going to take to really make a big difference. Like, these businessmen are fueling this business, and we have got to combat it with the same exact thing, not exact thing, a better thing, a better, just real men that don't buy children, but they save children. And that's,
I had to throw the book up there, but yes, be the man and start leading today. Absolutely. And stop. Yeah. I mean, you have, and I'll just real quick, just recap, 60 kids trafficked at Burma border every day. Burma, by the way, is that the border of Thailand?
Burma is where we went. It is called no man's land. There's no law there. And
what? Wow.
And that is where you can go. When we were there, you can. So if a group of men or a man is to walk down that border, they will be offered consistently, and as they walk up and down that border, they will be offered any age child, boys and girls, from their own parents, their own family members. And I don't know if you've watched that video that we're in, but there's a part where I literally broke down. Like, on top of exhaustion, what happened was we were standing in front of a child brothel, and there was a little girl in there with special needs. I probably can't say this without choking, but she was chained up in that house right there in front of us. And I literally, it's the most evil place you can ever think about, like in your worst nightmares. And so we were standing there in that. I'm sorry, I'm really trying not to get choked up, but we were standing there, and it just literally it hit us like physically, like,
yeah.
You're gonna get sad.
And Americans are doing this. That's the part that I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. So it's anger, and we left there. When you leave, you have fingernail prints like in your hands, because you're just so angry, and there's nothing you feel like there's nothing you can do. And I mean, people have asked me, well, what about that little girl? Like, what's going to happen? And I'm like, we have to be so realistic about this. We were not going to save that little girl, not necessarily now. I will say that my friend is trying. She has been trying, and I'm not sure, and I can't really do that. Like, I can't go and say I need to know the outcomes of each of these children, because if you get super emotionally involved like that, I feel like it doesn't help with the whole picture.
But you control, but Nicki, and I didn't mean to cut, but you control where the money is going. Like, that's a big part of this, because a lot of people, you watch these television shows, and I mean, and I'll tell you what, I mean, I'll bring up the side of this that, I've had people go, well, how do you know where the money is going? Well, because I know the people that are moving the money to them. That's
exactly. And now it's worse than even people think it is. And that is why I had to go. We have a vetting process. So that's our differentiating factor as far as the charity goes. We are not going to hand our money because here's why. There are people who, one of the worst things I've heard in this, even in that area, was that there are people who can set up websites or whatever. They're receiving donations.
Oh yeah.
Are taking the donations, and they're saving the children, and then bringing them just to maybe Bangkok or another area and just creating a larger business to sell the children out of. And so they're just literally taking the donations to fund to sell the children over again. And
it's like a ticket scalper, kind of what it sounds like.
It's,
you know,
literally, again, it goes back to just the most evil thing that you could ever think of. And having to also combat that on top of everything else. And it seems, I understand it seems unsurmountable, but it's really something that we can, you know, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you've ever heard the starfish story. And we might, I probably should tell this before we end. So the starfish story, if I tell it right, let's hope I do. But there's an old man who sees a little boy on a beach, and he's walking up and down the beach, and he looks and he sees the little boy picking up starfish and throwing them back in the water. And the old man is like, I need to go, you know, explain to this little boy that he's not going to make a difference. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of starfish being washed up on this beach, and they're dying. They're going to die. And I just need to go be realistic with him and tell him this is just a waste of time, basically. So when he walks up to the little boy and he says, you know, son, what are you doing? And he's saying, well, I'm putting the starfish back. They have to be back in the water to survive. And he says, well, you understand you're not going to save all these starfish, right? I just want you to not be upset about the fact that they're going to die. And like, you're not going to be able to save them all. And he wanted to explain it to him. And as the little boy picked up each one, he said, well, you know, he said, you're not going to be able to save them all. And he picks them up and he throws them in and says, well, I saved that one. And I saved that one. And so we liken that, we tell that story as a good, you know, we might not be able to save all these children, but for each child that we saved that one. We made a difference in that one's life. And so that's kind of how the way you have to look at it. And you can do that for just not even that much money. And that's literally why we started there, is to try to make the biggest impact, because it's such a huge problem there, but it's also one of the least expensive places to solve the problem per child. And so we do eventually want to get involved in the politics in our own country. We understand there's a huge problem here as well. People say that to me every single day. Like, you do understand that it's a problem here and you should be doing something about that. Well, we're not in a position to be able to do that because of what it entails in this country to be able to do and how much money that costs. So we're not those people yet. We're the people that can do and make a big impact where we can do that. And as we make a bigger and bigger impact, then we will become those people eventually. And until we're those people, we're not those people, right? And so we have to do what we can do and make as big of an impact as we can. So
I love it. Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. Well, Nicki, so just recapping, anybody that wants to get involved, they can go to agentsact.com. I've been flashing making sure that that's up there so you guys can see it. It's also in the comments, but www.agentsact.com. Nicki, thank you so much for jumping on, and especially since you cut out of training a little bit early for us to do this. So thank you. And yeah, absolutely. And guys, again, www.agentsact.com. Kristen, thank you for being on as well. And guys, until next week, see you same channel, same place. See you guys.
Thank you, Matt.